A very good morning to you, dear loving children. I hope you are keeping fine. Today we are going to start a new chapter in economics, people as resources. In the previous chapter, we learned about land as a resource. We learned about working capital. We learned about fixed capital. We said that tools, machines, buildings, fixed capital. So in this chapter we are going to study about people as a resource. People means population as a whole in our country, and the resource means asset. How people can become a resource or an asset through education, Medicare, training. How people can become a resource. So we are going to study in detail in this chapter how people can become a resource, how it can lead to human capital formation. In the beginning of the class I told you land is used as a resource. We use land for, you can see in the picture, we use land for cultivating cocoa. So cocoa plantation, the land is used for cultivating cocoa. And you can see on this side, you can see the land is used for cultivating banana. Banana plantains here. So the land is also used for cultivating maybe coconuts, coconut trees, and for cultivating aracanuts. The land is used for various purposes. So the land becomes a resource. The land cannot become a resource on its own. It can become a resource only by the coordination of human capital. So only when human beings use land, maybe for agriculture, maybe for forestry, maybe for used for fishing, or any other use, then only the land will become a resource. So as we study this chapter in detail, you will understand more how people can become a resource. So let us start with the next chapter in economics. The chapter 2, people as a resource. In this chapter, we are going to study in detail how people can become a resource. We studied how land can become a resource. Now we are going to study how the people, the population can become a resource or an asset. The first question we are going to learn, what do you understand by people as a resource? It is a way of referring to a country's working population in terms of their skill and abilities. People become a resource only when they acquire skill, when they develop their abilities. Population becomes human capital when investment is made in the form of education, training, and Medicare. We can see the book symbolizes education. We get education from the schools, colleges, And here you can see the example of medical care, how health checkups are done, how the government takes care of our health. And here you can find computer training being given to people. People become more skilled. So population becomes a human capital when we invest in education, in training and medical care. And no economic activity is possible without human resource. So I hope you understood what do you understand by people as a resource. Now let us move on to the next question. How is a human resource different from other resource like land and physical capital? In the previous chapter we learned about physical capital, working capital, fixed capital and all that. So we must understand human resource is living, active and sensitive factor of production. Human resource can make use of land and capital. You can see in the picture how the land is used for cultivation. This is a traditional method of plowing, farming. The plowing is being done. And how the human resource make use of capital, money. Money to buy tractors, and they use tractors for cultivation. With the help of tractor you are able to cultivate more areas and cultivation can be done faster and you can get more income. Next point, land and capital cannot become useful on its own. Suppose land is there, you have capital, money is there. There is nobody to invest that money and get the return. Unless people cultivate that land, unless they cultivate rice or wheat or sugar cane or maybe coffee, pepper, tea, whatever may be, then only the land will become useful on its own. The land cannot become useful on its own. So, human resource, people are important because it is the people who use land and capital to produce more. Human resource work as a labor, as laborers. They work as laborers in factories. You can find here the laborers. You can find them, the laborers working, and some people work as work in managing things, the managers, and the manager of a factory. So, other example, entrepreneur, a businessman. You see, Byju's app is an entrepreneur. Same way we have many entrepreneurs. So, we have Reliance, we have Tata, we have Birla, we have so many Bajaj, we have Hero Honda. There are so many entrepreneurs in India and around the world. So human resource, they work as laborers, they work as managers, and they work as entrepreneurs or businessmen. One who starts a new business is called an entrepreneur. Now let us find out the next question. What is the role of education in human capital formation? The role of education in human capital formation or in making people as a resource or an asset. Education plays an important role in the development of human capital. How? It provides a skill and efficiency to the workers. It is education which provides them skill, and it provides efficiency to the workers. That too, the skill and efficiency you can get only through education. And education provides a scientific and technical knowledge to the people. You can see here, how do they get technical knowledge? How do they get scientific knowledge? They are getting scientific knowledge. They are getting technical knowledge. So education plays an important role in providing scientific and technical knowledge to people. We have scientists, we have doctors, we have engineers, we have all kinds of pilots, we have all kinds of people. The next point, education helps a person to get higher earnings and a greater contribution to society. When a person gets education, he gets a degree, he has completed post graduation, he has done PhD, and he has become maybe he has become a doctor, he has become an engineer, he has become a pilot, he has become a lawyer, maybe a nurse. Such people get higher earnings. Their earnings go sometimes in lakhs. So education, if you are educated, if you are qualified, if you are skilled, you get higher earnings, you get better salaries, better perks. And such people, such scientists, doctors, engineers, pilots, they can contribute a lot to the society. They can help in a nation building. Just like APJ Abdul Kalam. APJ Abdul Kalam, suppose if he had followed his father's job of fishing, he would have become a fisherman. But he was interested in study, and his parents encouraged him to study. No. So that way he came up and he became the President of India. He became the Missile Man of India. So education can bring about a change. So if that is the role of education. Education helps a person to get higher earnings, and an educated person can provide greater contribution to society. Next point, education also adds the capacity of human stock to produce more. You can produce more with education. Even with the scientific method of farming, you are able to produce more. Green Revolution. With the Green Revolution, we are able to produce 3,200 kg of rice per hectare. Before, in the traditional, we were getting only maybe 1,300, 1,400 kg of rice or wheat. Next point, the quality of a population depends upon the literacy rate of a country. The quality of the population depends upon the literacy rate of a country. If a country has 90 to 100% literacy, the population will be of good quality, disciplined, industrious, hardworking, law-abiding citizens. So that we will understand more when we study about Japan, how Japan became a developed country, how Japan invested money on education and health. And so you can see in the picture a doctor, maybe a Microsoft company, maybe a manager, they get higher earnings, and they also contribute a lot for the society. So that is, we cannot forget the role of education in human capital formation, or in other words, in making people as a resource. People become an asset by getting education. If people do not get education, they can become a liability. They can become a burden for the society if they are not skilled, if they are illiterate. So they may get only very little earnings, and their life will be also uh, not so good. Now let us come to the next question. What steps are taken by the government to promote education in India? The government has set up schools in India, in villages and towns, to provide free and compulsory education up to 14 years of age. Some of the government schools are well built. If you make a visit to some of the government schools in Delhi, you will find they are all modern schools with all facilities. The government has set up Navodaya schools in each district. You can see the picture of a Jawahar Navodaya school, Vidyalaya. So in each district, Navodaya schools have been set up to promote education. The next point, vocational streams have been developed to provide career-related or occupation-related knowledge and skill. The vocational schools have been started to provide them knowledge about maybe computer, maybe teach them some skill. So anything, teach them plumbing, teach them electrical works, teach them any mechanical work, anything. So that is the way we are trying to promote education. Next point, Sarva Shishya Abhiyan. You can see SSA, it is called, has been introduced to provide elementary education. And midday meal scheme has been implemented to encourage attendance of children, retention of children, to keep children so that they may come to school, and they may come to school every day, and in order to improve their nutritional status. Earlier, many children were not coming to school because they were suffering from poverty, so they had to go for work. They had to provide additional income to their parents. So many of them, they were not forced to go to school. Many used to leave school in between. So in order to bring more children to the school, the government has introduced a midday meal scheme. They get rice, they get chapati, they get curry, okay, all kind. So children, they don't have to bring meals from home. So it is provided to children every day. You can see in the picture how the teachers are helping. The teachers are helping children to get meals. The midday meal scheme, they get hot food. So that is why some steps are taken by government to attract more children. Maybe the Dalits, the Adivasis, maybe the poor people. So in order to attract more children to school, the government is providing a midday meal to all the children. Bridge courses and back to school camps have been started to increase enrollment of students. Bridge courses, some course they could not complete. So they have introduced a bridge course so that you can continue your studies. And back to school camps have been started to attract more children to school. The government has set up a number of colleges, IITs, IIMs, universities, etc. to promote higher education. You can find, government has set up IIT Delhi. Here you can see the picture of IIT Delhi. IIT Kanpur, IIT Chennai, okay, all this you can find. And government has set up a number of medical colleges all over India. Here you can see All India Medical Institute, AIIMS in Delhi. You will find they have set up All India Medical Institute in many places, maybe in Orissa, maybe in some other states also. The government has set up all these colleges, IITs, IIMs, and Indian Institute of Management and various universities. We have Kerala University, we have Calicut University, we have Mahatma Gandhi University in Kerala. So all this to promote higher education to our people, our students. So all this will help in getting higher earnings, and these people can also contribute for the betterment of our country, our society. Now let us come to the next question. What is the role of health in human capital formation? Just like education plays a very important role in human capital formation, health also plays a very important role in human capital formation. The first point, the health of a person helps him to realize his potential and the ability to fight illness. The health of a person helps him to fight illness. A person will develop immunity power so that he can fight against any kind of illness. Maybe COVID-19, maybe a cancer, maybe anything. Second one, health is an indispensable basis for realizing one's well-being. Without health, a person can become a liability. He cannot be, he is not able to contribute much in any sector. An unhealthy person becomes a liability for the society. If you are healthy, you can run, you can play, you can study, you can work, you can walk, you can do cycling, you can do swimming. If you are healthy only, you can do that. If you are an unhealthy person, you cannot concentrate on your studies, you will be taking a number of leaves from school. You may take leave from the workplace. So an unhealthy person, he becomes a liability. Liability means a kind of a burden for the society. It increases the productivity and the efficiency of the human resource. The health increases the productivity. If you are healthy, you are able to produce more. More work can be done. And it will improve the efficiency of human resource. That is why people say sometimes health is wealth. Many companies are investing, they are providing health clubs. In America and all companies provide, they provide them maybe gym, they allow them to play some games so that they may remain healthy. So it increases the productivity and efficiency of human resource. The economic growth can be achieved at a faster rate if we are healthy and competent enough. If we are healthy only, we can achieve economic growth. If most of our people are not healthy, so we'll have to spend more money for their illness. So economic growth will slow down. That is why government has established medical colleges, primary health centers, community health centers, CHC and PHC, and other government hospitals all over India. When you have a problem, first you approach primary health care in your village, and if you have the problem is a little more serious, then you may go to community health centers. Then you may be referred to medical colleges, may be referred to other hospitals. So the government has established medical colleges, a number of medical colleges. I told you AIIMS. We have Kozhikode Medical College, we have Thiruvananthapuram Medical College, Alappuzha Medical College, Kottayam Medical College. We have so many medical colleges. So all this is done by the government uh, to increase the health of the people. Now let us come to the next question. What are economic activities? Any activity which provides you income is called economic activity. This include production of goods in the primary. Primary I have already shown you. Primary means agriculture, farming, fishing, forestry, etc. Secondary you can find here secondary. This is secondary manufacturing. Something in a factory. This is a Volkswagen factory producing cars. So, and tertiary sector. Tertiary sector means, you can see here tertiary sector providing transport. A big truck carrying goods from one place to another. Transport, tertiary sector, transport, trade, communication, banking, tourism, insurance. And this also include providing services in the government service. You are in a government job, IAS or IPS or IFS, whatever may be. Maybe you are a clerk. So providing services in the government is also an economic activity. Any activity which provides you income.